Welcome back to my channel for another year of Curriculum Week. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Abby. I'm a homeschooling mom of 4. This upcoming school year, I will have kids from pre-K4 up through 7th grade, and I share all of our curriculum picks throughout the course of a week every single year. So this year is no different. I'll be sharing our family subjects today, and then throughout the week I will share individual subjects per grade level. So today I'm going to be sharing our family curriculum picks, and before I do so, I just want to explain, because you're going to see a lot of books, especially if you're new here. It might seem like so overwhelming. If you've been here for a while, then you know that we follow a Charlotte Mason style homeschool. We're not, perfectly on track with that always, but it definitely influences the majority of my choices and the way that we schedule and plan our days and where we give the most value. It tends to be these subjects that lean toward a Charlotte Mason method. So that being said, we tend to pull from a lot of different sources, although we only do each subject or each topic for about 15 or 20 minutes before we move on. So we are not sitting in the same book for an hour at a time. We are not going through a rigorous schedule that goes till 3 p.m. It is a little bit of a lot of different things, a feast of ideas, if you will, and we definitely don't do every subject every single day. So what I'm gonna show you today is our family subjects. We try to spend the majority of our day together at the table before we break off and do some individual subjects like math or grade level language arts, things like that. But things like history, most often science, geography, read alouds, family subjects like poetry and artist and composer, those are all done together at the table. But like I said, we don't hit every single thing every single day. We do, however, do each of these things at least once throughout the course of the week. So if you want to know more about our schedule, in just a few weeks, I'll do my annual back to school week, and one of those days we'll go through a breakdown of our exact schedule for the year. So all that being said, let's just get right into it. Here are my family curriculum choices for the 2021-2022 school year. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, family subjects are the bulk of our homeschool, and this does not include our morning basket, although quite a few of these items will be in our morning basket. There are just so many little odds and ends, like this book or that biography or this logic game that will be in our morning basket. So in July, I will be doing a full morning basket video of all the little bits and pieces that we will be starting our first term with for morning basket. So I may mention that a couple of these things will be in our morning basket, but these will not be the only things in our morning basket. So I'm going to start right here. In the mornings, we will be starting with some personal Bible study. Now, this is something that is a habit that John and I are trying to establish in our kids this summer. So hopefully it will be a seamless transition into the school year. This is not part of that, sorry. This is. So I got all of us some journals from Anna Vance that I plan to use as our Bible journals. Now, I would like to teach the kids the SOAP method for studying scripture. So the S is for scripture, where you write it. O is for observation. A is for application, and P is for prayer. So basically, each passage of scripture that they read, they'll apply that method and journal it. It's just a really great way that I was taught in high school how to start Bible journaling on my own and prayer journaling. And so that's something that's followed me through my life, and I've never felt like I need a specific guided prayer journal, because that method was taught to me in high school by a mentor. And so I just felt very confident teaching that to my kids as being like their first introduction to personal quiet time. It gives a little direction, but it also leaves enough room for them to make it their own. So I did a verse for each of us. Now, this is my verse for this school year personally as a teacher, and you will see this on my planner when I show my planner in July. He must become greater, I must become less, John 3:30. And then it has the Charlotte Mason motto right there. I am, I can, I ought, I will. I just did traditional college ruled lines for myself to journal. This one is Jesse's. This is the verse I chose for him. Isaiah 54:10. And then this has wide ruled lines with room for illustration, because he does like to draw still. I actually left room for illustration for all of my kids. This one is John's. So this has Matthew 11:30. It's also college ruled. This one is Eli's, and he has the wide ruled lines with the room for illustration as well. I will link below what exactly these journals are. There are different names for the different journals on her website. And these ones I just really liked for Bible journaling, but it's not made to be for Bible journaling. Now Isabella, she loves plants, so this is the one I chose for her. And she has the college ruled with illustration. And then for Annabeth, because I'm just going to be reading, you know, the Bible, different Bible stories to she and Eli. So for her, she'll just have blank paper for illustrations. So I'm not sure how much Eli's going to want to do on his own and how much he's going to be wanting to do with me. So I wanted to leave room for that for him. So that is going to be our formal Bible this year. It's just going to be establishing the habit of quiet time. However, we will have this in our morning basket, theology, as well as a New City Catechism that we are still working our way through. So as far as any formal study, we will be going through these 70 lessons throughout this school year. And then New City Catechism is just a general part of our morning basket. I also picked up the parables picture study or Bible study portfolios from Simply Charlotte Mason. I thought since we're starting with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John that I would start with the parables and see if we like these, if these are a helpful companion. And if so, then I will they have some for a couple of different books of the Bible. So I thought that those were a neat thing to hang in the schoolroom. I'm just not sure how much we'll be using them. So that is our Bible plan for the year. So I will move on into our artist and poet and composer for this upcoming school year. So we're going to be doing Maya Angelou as our poet. We do the same poet all year. The way that we do this is we read a biography of the poet or a living book about the poet and study one poem per week, and then the kids will pick one every few weeks to memorize. So I got her the poetry for young people about her, and let me see how many. I actually am not sure how many poems are listed in here. Okay, 25, so that's just about perfect. That leaves room for them to do some memory as well, so that's perfect. So Simply Charlotte Mason is who we typically use for our poet studies, and there wasn't one on Maya Angelou, but the reason I really wanted to do this on my own this year, a couple reasons, and you'll see more in a second, but in history, where we're at, I wasn't sure if we're going to be ending last school year or beginning this school year with the civil rights movement. We're basically going to be starting early on in this first semester. We'll be getting into the civil rights movement. So I wanted to choose her as our artist for this year just because I know how we tend to linger on different topics in history, and I have a feeling based on the number of read-alouds and then independent readers that I have about the civil rights movement that we are going to sit there for a little while, and so I thought this would be the best pairing. Also, speaking of the civil rights movement, we are going to be doing the Highwaymen as our artist for the first semester, and then we'll switch into a Christmas art study, and then we'll round out the school year with Fra Angelico. But the reason that I wanted to do the Highwaymen first things first was because, again, civil rights movement at the beginning of the school year. Also, Highwaymen are local to us, so there are a lot of museums and different places that we can view Highwaymen art. And to be honest, my kids have grown up seeing it. We've just never studied them. And so I got this book for John for Christmas, and as I was flipping through, I realized that, so one of John's favorite artists is A.E. Backus, who was the kind of like the mentor for the Highwaymen. And as I was flipping through this, I realized that we really could study this group instead of a single artist. However, I did buy an autobiography, Journey Through the Eyes of an Original Highwayman Artist, R.L. Lewis Jr., as presented by Robert Lewis III, artwork by R.L. Lewis Jr. Maybe it's a biography and not an autobiography, I'm not sure. Maybe it was written by his son. But there are only 12 chapters, which, if you're familiar with the Charlotte Mason method, we do 3 12-week terms. So I thought this would be the perfect way to read about the Highwayman or an original Highwayman while we are looking at the art each week. And the chapters are very short. So I thought that this was just the perfect find for our Highwaymen study. I realize that not everybody is interested in the Highwaymen and that it maybe isn't like specific to your area, but for me, this is one I've waited on for a couple of years, and I'm very excited that we are going to be able to match it up to where we're at in history. Also, it's local, and then and you'll see again, I'm super excited as I get over to our history plans for the year, why this also is just another perfect pairing. So that's first semester, first term, second term, we will probably switch into one of the Advent art devotions that I shared a lot last year. I'll link those down below if you want to get a head start on those. That's by Rebecca at A Humble Place. And then we are going to go into Fra Angelico. We should have done that last year, but I think maybe I said in the intro, last year was just a little bit of a mess, and so a couple of things we didn't get to, including him. Now, our composer this year is Liszt, and that's pretty straightforward. Just bought the Simply Charlotte Mason CDs, and they have a CD player in the schoolroom. This also comes with a small biography inside, a living biography inside of it as well. So we'll read that and then just listen throughout the year. We do one composer per year, one poet per year, one composer per year, 2 to 3 artists per year. Next, you guys know I love this. Laying Down the Rails is just a huge part of our family subjects. So we do Laying Down the Rails. We will be doing that until my kids graduate from high school. As far as art goes, we are going to be continuing with brush drawing, which we started last year. We also have this handcrafts book from Wild and Free that you can't get through this in a year unless it's your main curriculum. There's quite a bit in there. I just want to keep pulling from there, so we kind of alternate a little bit between some technique and then some handcrafty type things. But these are what we use for our Monday enrichment as kind of like projects or just more fun. We also use Yellow Spot Sun, and we are continuing with this study that we started last year, which was a transportation study. And it really still works out with where we're at in history, so we're just going to continue with that. But we kind of pull from a few different sources as far as art goes, and so we haven't made it through a full curriculum in quite some time, in 1 year's time. Next, I have A Midsummer Night's Dream. Now, we did a 1 semester long little class on Shakespeare, and then he used Midsummer Night's Dream as the intro to Shakespeare, but I haven't done this on my own, and so I wanted to do the Shakespeare in 3 steps from Simply Charlotte Mason on Midsummer Night's Dream, just because my kids have some familiarity with Midsummer Night's Dream. However, we haven't read it all the way through, so we're going to kind of take what we know about Shakespeare based on that class they did 3 years ago and pair it up with a full semester of Midsummer Night's Dream. So last year we started A Comedy of Errors. We never finished it, and I was considering doing that one again, but I just felt like a couple of things that we didn't really finish well, I wanted to get a little distance from before we just start fresh with it. And again, last year was hard on us, and so this year I have a little bit of a better plan and more of an understanding of what our lives look like now that John owns the family business, and it was just a lot of transition last year for us. So moving on into nature. Nature study is one of our absolute most favorite and consistent subjects, so we're going to be continuing with exploring nature with children. I kind of think we're just going to be using this forever. And then we also have, including myself, these or they're not necessarily nature journals, but I use them as nature journals from Anna Vance. So we have the nature journals to go along with exploring nature with children. We just use the guide. I do not use the children's notebook that you can buy separate from the actual curriculum, if anybody was wondering. Moving on to geography. So this is our first year trying something other than the Simply Charlotte Mason Visits to series. I just decided that we were going to be starting with this Ann Voskamp Child's Geography. This is one I've had my eye on for about 1.5 years, and I haven't started it yet because the volume 1 kind of seems to be more like an earth space science-y type of geography, and then the other volumes you get into actual more traditional geography. I almost said geometry. I wanted to wait to start this until we were starting astronomy again in science, and so my boys will be starting astronomy this year, so I decided this was the year we were going to pull volume 1 for a child's geography. So Isabella will be doing this with us. She's just not doing science with the boys, but it's just it made the most sense to me. So we're going to be doing a child's geography this year. And then as you'll see throughout the week, as I share what my boys are using, when we get to specific countries in 5 in a row, we will still pull in Material World and Hungry Planet, which is a supplement that we really use, or a resource that we really pull all throughout the school year, depending on different books we're reading, or 5 in a row studies, or if the kids just have an interest in certain countries, as well as I think the Olympics are happening this year now, so they may also have some level of interest in different countries. I was reading in my Wild and Free magazine a couple of months back about doing a different like geography celebration every month, and making that your geography curriculum is like doing one country a month, making a feast, doing some kind of traditional activity. And I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun. We're already using this, but I may kind of pull from this in that way. So that's what we're using for geography. And then for history, you guys know I absolutely love Story of the World. I'm sticking to that story. I don't think that will ever change. We do Story of the World with friends, and this year we are finishing volume 4. We should be finished by Christmas. We do tend to slow down. This year we did slow down for the Holocaust and World War II, and also for the Great Depression. So where I thought we were going to be through the Civil Rights Movement last year, we actually stopped at World War II. So we're going to be picking up from that point, moving on. And like I said, we tend to linger. So we have just about enough to get to Christmas, so we think. And then a dream that she and I have talked about forever is to then, before we restart at volume 1 again, to spend a semester reading A Land Remembered. I took a course, I think it was in high school. It might have been my first year of college. It was in high school because I remember who my teacher was, yes, on A Land Remembered. It was a Florida history course. I took it as an elective because that's just always been who I am, I guess, history nerd. And I absolutely loved that book. That was an entire semester that we spent on A Land Remembered and just going deep into Florida history. It was so interesting. And so it's something that we wanted to do with our kids for a semester before we start back at volume 1. So again, that's why the Highwaymen, Florida's original landscape painters, was interesting to me, because I thought it would be another great connection that not only are we studying the Civil Rights Movement this year in history and doing Maya Angelou, and then we're going to be doing this group of African American painters, but also, they kind of rose during the Civil Rights Movement, if you're wondering why I connected that. But also we're going to be doing Florida history after we finish volume 4 in the fall, or in the winter, and so it's perfect because we'll also have great visuals of what he is talking about in that book. And we also have a couple of really great museums that go hand in hand with A Land Remembered and local Florida history. So yes, we are going to be doing A Land Remembered second semester, Story of the World first semester, a little bit of Florida, a little bit of civil rights. It all makes sense in my mind. It might seem a little crazy here in the video, but that's the one reason I struggle a little bit with making this family subjects video, because it seems like so much. It's really not that much. Charlotte Mason method, 20 minutes or so per lesson, kind of bouncing around from thing to thing. But if you're not familiar with that, this seems like a whole lot, but it's really not. And then we also have our Book of Centuries that tie it all together. We use our Book of Centuries, technically, it's for history, but as we're doing our composer, as we're doing our artist and our poet, and as we're reading different things in our missionary studies and our morning exercises books, and we come across other times in history through 5 in a row books, we will record all of it in the Book of Centuries, which we just have one per family, and that really helps make a history connection all the way through. So I also wrote here, so I didn't forget, I already said Yellow Spot Sun. We're going to continue with the Trailblazing Transit study. This year our handcraft is once again going to be gardening, which I did tell you about 3 years ago that I tried gardening, or I was going to try gardening. And I really, guys, like, I just can't get it. So my kids, though, they really do. And so I thought the best way to kind of try gardening again as our handcraft, there is a volunteer garden, which I know I showed you a few times last school year, and they feed the homeless community here. So we are going to twice a month. We are all signed up to go out there and volunteer twice a month at the garden. It's really neat. As you spend a couple of hours out there, you're also learning, like, I mean, he has so many acres. I can't remember how many. So sometimes you're weeding, sometimes you're planting, sometimes you're in, like, you're in there pulling up, like last time we got rutabagas, and we've pulled beets, and we've pulled and replanted sweet potatoes. It's a really cool way to be hands-on and for the kids to see the process all the way through and kind of be rewarded. My younger ones, picking the tomatoes and pulling the rutabagas is way more fun than learning how to compost. So it's a lot of reward for them, but also, just spending the hours out there I think is going to really be helpful in teaching us. But also, my mother-in-law recently, just a few years ago, got remarried, and her new husband is just so good at gardening. And considering that we live in Florida now, he is a Florida native, it is just really hard here. I can't figure it out. I grew up in the Midwest, and it was much easier there, or so it seemed. It's difficult here to get things to grow. And so he can take any tiny little plot on a, patio and grow a bunch of stuff. So he is going to, we asked him, and I was really glad that he was not only, agreeable to it, but he was excited about it. He is going to be teaching my kids how to plant their own garden. He's going to be doing it here at our house. I don't know how consistent it will be, like we're gonna be at the garden twice a month. That's, 2 times a month. We're kind of pouring in and learning this handcraft. I don't know, based on seasonally, like how he plans to do it with the kids, if he's gonna be here once a week, if it's just gonna be like on Saturdays or whatever, but he's gonna be coming over and he wants to teach them start to finish. He loves this kind of stuff. So he is excited about teaching the kids first how to compost, then how to, test their soil and all the good stuff. So it may be a while before they actually get anything planted, but like I said, we'll be volunteering at the garden as well. So they will be getting to pull things and pick things and having fun with it at the same time. So a few years back, I heard to use the village. I was listening to a Wild and Free podcast. They said, use the village. And that was the magic password I needed for myself to give myself permission to outsource things that I just don't know and also be a student myself. So we're gonna retry gardening this time with an actual, nonprofit garden and a gardener here at our house. So I will not be teaching a lick of gardening, but I will be learning, and I'm sure the kids are gonna have a blast as well. We are going to give quite a bit of emphasis onto our life skill this year. It's not been something I've ever done super well, but our life skill this year is going to be meals. Specifically, the first semester, it's going to be breakfast. So we've recently gotten into the habit of the kids having an assigned day for breakfast. The only problem, and it's been going great, the only problem is that I haven't really taught them each how to do some more like in-depth things like breakfast casseroles or making more things from scratch. So we're gonna use what we started last year, which was the same meal rotation, the same weekly breakfast rotation, and we are going to be slowing down our mornings, 1 for Bible study, and 2 for me to get in the kitchen at least once a week with each kid and have them work on a couple of more in-depth breakfasts. So what we're gonna do is we are going to pick a handful of breakfasts and we are going to rotate through them. So I think something like some kind of like an egg dish, some kind of a baked breakfast good, things like that. And we will not be eating the same, like I'm not gonna be teaching them each to make an egg casserole the same week, because then we'd be having egg casserole 5 times that week. But we're gonna be just working on those same dishes over and over. And then hopefully by the end of the first term, they will mostly, and I'm talking my older 3, not Annabeth, but they will mostly be able to complete that on their own. So 3 or 4 dishes, very simple. You know, we're not gonna take off running, but we are gonna make the right adjustments, like slowing down our mornings in order to make room for our life skill this year, and our Bible study. So, and again, in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna be sharing my theme for the upcoming year and a recap of our theme of atmosphere last year. And the slowing down our mornings is gonna make a lot more sense when I share our theme. And then last but not least, we are actually started a Charlotte Mason enrichment co-op. We have about 7 families involved, and we are meeting just twice a month to go over some enrichment activities. So we will be using some of these things like exploring nature with children. We are going to be doing some poetry. Each family is kind of going to be hosting and reciting there. It's just gonna give them some accountability for their recitation. We're going to be using our catechism as a group. We're going to be doing hymns together. So you'll see maybe a few more of those things when I share my morning basket video, but the hymns that we choose for our group are going to be the hymns that we do this school year. Same with the folk songs. The kids are going to be doing nature, like I said. We also have some apologetics and Old Testament study that the older ones are going to be doing, as well as the middle and high schoolers are going to be doing some classic literature. So it's going to be a really great accountability, or a really great enrichment co-op. And I'm super excited about that. So that is kind of another thing that goes hand in hand with our family subjects. So those are our family curriculum choices for this upcoming school year. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. And one more time, just in case you didn't catch that at the beginning, we do not do all of this every day. This is at best something that we hit at least once per week, each of these subjects, throughout the course of the week, as we spend about 1.5 hours to 2 hours together in the mornings at the table. So don't put pressure on yourselves thinking that you have to do like 25 family subjects a day before you break out into individual subjects. This is just something that represents about a week's worth of family subjects in our homeschool. So that is what we have on the agenda for the upcoming school year. If you are excited about curriculum week, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below what some of the subjects are that you have planned for your family this upcoming school year. And I will see you every single day this week for the remainder of the week. Not every video will be this long though, so just a heads up. This was the longest video, so you don't have to be worried about that. It's not gonna be like 3 hours of content this week, but family subjects, since it is the bulk of our homeschool, happened to be the longest video. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Bye guys.